All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our latest BCBA practice exam, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our study materials, check out behavioranalyststudy.com. We have our combo pack and our practice exams ready to go. Check that out. As always, when you pass, let us know so we can include you in our Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. 79. Pierre is a ballroom dancer instructor. He has a studio that is designed to mimic common settings where ballroom dancing might occur, including formal events and weddings. Prior to each meeting with the client, he will change random things around the room without telling the client, including paintings, furniture, and tablecloths. What procedure is Pierre likely using? So it's a procedure question, and immediately you should be thinking generalization. It's a dead giveaway. Pierre's got a studio designed to mimic common settings where ballroom dancing might occur, including events and weddings. So Pierre's trying to teach in a setting that feels like a real setting, where we're trying to generalize from Pierre's studio to the real settings by making his setting similar to the real settings. That's going to improve generalization. So what generalization specifically is happening when Pierre changes random things around the room without telling the client, including paintings, furniture, and tablecloths? What procedure is that? Now, be careful here because we have used multiple exemplars and trained loosely. And these two are very common because multiple exemplars, we are training common stimuli, common responses. Trained loosely, it's similar. The main difference is that trained loosely, you are changing non-critical stimuli. So stimuli that aren't necessary or important to what you're trying to teach. Multiple exemplars, you're teaching stimuli and responses that are relevant to your goal. Training loosely, you're changing things that aren't critical to avoid those items gaining stimulus control over behavior. What Pierre doesn't want is paintings or furniture and tablecloths to have stimulus control over his students' behavior. So he's changing these non-critical aspects. Therefore, no matter what the painting is or the furniture or the tablecloths, his students' behavior is under the stimulus control of the relevant stimuli. And that's the key difference. These aren't multiple exemplars. He's training loosely. He's not using natural or indiscriminable contingencies because we're not necessarily talking about contingencies here. We're talking about the stimuli in the room. He's changing these non-critical aspects, painting, furnitures, and tablecloths, to avoid those non-critical aspects gaining stimulus control over behavior. Pierre is likely using train loosely. 80. Consider the following descriptions of a behavior event. Which description contains the most objective language? All right, whenever we're describing behavior, defining behavior, want to be objective, right? And objective is the opposite of subjective. When we're subjective, we're giving our opinion, our beliefs, our thoughts on what happened. Objective is an empirical classification and description of what actually occurred. There is no opinion in objective language. Objective language is what occurred. So we're looking for a description that is objective, meaning limits the amount of opinion or thought or feeling or belief contained within the description. So A, Tommy is always disruptive in class and always distracts his classmates. Now, a few things wrong here. This word always implies that Tommy's just always disruptive and always distracting. That can be different for different people. Same as disruptive and distracting. Those aren't really defined. There's no measurement here. It's just simply somebody saying Tommy's always disruptive, he's always distracting. That isn't necessarily the most objective description of Tommy's behavior. Can we find something better? B, Liam studies 1 hour at minimum for each exam and always scores above 90%. This is pretty good, right? We've got one, a measurement of his studying habits, 1 hour minimum, and he always scores above 90%. So we have actual data backing up our assessment or description. B is pretty objective. That's hard to argue anything in B. C, Johnson gets so angry with his brother when his brother won't leave his room that he will begin throwing items at his brother. Most of these are okay, other than this word, angry, right? These mentalisms, these internal feelings are always going to be subjective because angry might be different to you, different to me. We have to operationally define angry if we're going to use it as a descriptor. And so Angry makes this subjective. We can't pick it. D, Jason had vegetables 3 nights in a row and was sick of eating vegetables, so he threw them on the ground. 3 nights in a row is fine. Throwing them on the ground is fine. Sick of eating vegetables, not a good way to describe it. How do we know he was sick of eating vegetables? Did he tell us? Did we observe it? Is he definitely sick of eating vegetables? There's so many questions that this term sick of raises. And when your descriptions start raising questions like that, there's a good chance you've entered into subjective territory. B is good, right? Because B, Liam studies 1 hour at minimum. We can't argue that. That's what happens. Always scores above 90%. Can't argue that. That's what happens. That's what makes B so objective. 81. Angel says, name me 5 different types of hats. Her client responds with 5 different types of animals. Angel says, those are animals. Name me 5 different types of hats. Baseball hat. Her client then responds with 4 more hats. What type of prompt is used in the scenario? So, prompting question. Let's first identify the prompt. Clearly, the prompt is baseball hat, right? Because Angel wants him to name hats. Client answers incorrectly, so Angel gets corrective feedback and then reintroduces the SD and then prompts baseball hat. So the baseball hat, what type of prompt is that specifically? Well, specifically, that's a verbal prompt, right? She's verbally prompting out the rest of the responses. If we look at our answer choices, we don't have a verbal prompt. So we've got to move to the next thing, a more broad description of it. And a more broad description, is it a stimulus prompt? Is it a response prompt? A stimulus prompt acts directly on the stimulus at hand. A response prompt is trying to evoke that actual response. It's acting on the response. And what is Angel attempting to do? Well, she's attempting to evoke or act on the actual response by baseball hat, and it's effective. This prompt is a response prompt. She's not manipulating stimuli. She's simply verbally prompting the client. Not a gestural prompt, right? There's no physical indication of what she wants. And it's not modeling. With modeling, we demonstrate the entire response. She only gave him one answer verbally, which is the verbal prompt, to evoke the other 4 responses. Modeling, Angel would have said all 5 hats, and then the client would have copied them. That would have been more of a modeling prompt. Additionally, modeling is typically physical. It's typically physical gestures in a more imitation type sense where you are doing the full response and you want the client to imitate. So yes, it's picky, but you've got to be picky on the exam because you've got to look for the best answer. And the best answer here is the prompt is acting on the response. It's a response prompt. 82, Marie prefers wine bottles with twist off caps because she can put the cap back on and put the bottle back in her wine fridge. Today, she grabbed a bottle and tried with all her might to untwist the cap, but eventually gave up and grabbed a wine opener. Why did Marie resort to a wine opener? All right, I think this is a pretty straightforward question. Not every question on the exam is going to be the hardest question you've ever seen. When you get an easy question, we don't overthink it. We answer it, trusting our preparation and our knowledge. We move on. So why did Marie resort to a wine opener? Because usually she has twist off caps because, you know, she takes the cap off. She takes the cap off and then she can just put the bottle back in her wine fridge. Easy enough. However, today, grab the bottle, could not untwist the cap. So what usually happens, right? In the past, what happens? Well, she grabs the bottle, she untwists the cap comes off. Her behavior is reinforced. Today, she's not getting any reinforcement for twisting. So, is her behavior being punished? It's not. There's nothing being positively or negatively added or taken away, right? What's happening is reinforcement is being withheld. Her behavior is typically reinforced when she untwists the cap. Today it's not. Reinforcement has been withheld for a behavior that was previously reinforced. And what is that called? Well, extinction. Her twisting behavior was put on extinction. Grabbing the wine opener was reinforced. Well, we're not sure what happened when she grabbed the wine opener. It's not really relevant either because the question is asking about why Marie resorted to the wine opener. So we don't care what happened when she grabbed it. We want to know why. And the reason why was her twisting behavior was put on extinction. Previously, twisting behavior received reinforcement. This time reinforcement was withheld. Behavior was put on extinction. She gave up, did something else. Following a task analysis, Marty was taught how to rinse his dish and put it directly into the dishwasher after he was done eating. Today, his mom decided to start the dishwasher, which prevented Marty from putting his dish directly into the dishwasher and forced Marty into a different response. What type of chain intervention does this most resemble? All right, chaining questions. I think chaining questions are pretty easy. I don't think there's too many intricacies with chaining, right? With chaining, we're either forward chaining, we're going forward, we're going backwards, we're teaching the whole chain, or we're interrupting the chain. I think it can be as simple as that. Task analysis, a little more complicated because you've got to decide how you're going to do the task analysis, how you're going to individualize it. And there's other intricacies to task analysis. Once that's done and you're just identifying the chain, I think it gets pretty easy. So what type of chain intervention is happening here? Marty was taught to rinse his dish, put it directly into the dishwasher when he was done eating. Today, his mom started the dishwasher, which prevented Marty from putting his dish directly into the dishwasher and forced Marty into a different response. Here's a couple keys, right? Common chain, Marty rinses his dish, puts it into the dishwasher when he's done eating. All good, right? Today, his mom started the dishwasher, which changed the chain and changed Marty's behavior. What does that resemble? A, forward chaining, B, backwards chaining. Well, the chain's been taught already, right? We're no longer teaching Marty forward or backwards. So forward and backwards should not even be on your radar. Total task, maybe, right? But is she teaching Marty this new behavior? No, what she's doing is she's interrupting the chain, forcing Marty into a different behavior. Behavior chain interruption is very, very important because when we teach chains, we teach them very rote, typically, where we're teaching the same, let's say, 10 steps over and over again. That's not how life works, right? Things happen, different stimuli come into play, setting events happen, and we need our client to be able to adapt. That's what behavior chain interruption strategy teaches, that adaptation. This way, now that the dishwasher is running, Marty is forced to do something different. How will Marty respond? So his mom engaged in a behavior chain interruption strategy by breaking the chain, forcing Marty into a different response. 84. Lacey, a behavior analyst, had a long conversation with stakeholders regarding introducing a self-help routine into the skill acquisition plan. The stakeholders were hesitant due to the client's age, but Lacey insisted that a skill acquisition plan would improve the family's morning routine. Lacey is recommending this intervention based on what? Why is Lacey, a behavior analyst, recommending her intervention? What reason? Well, we know, right? Don't jump to the answer choices. Understand the question first. We know she had a long conversation with stakeholders, the self-help routine into the plan. Stakeholders not on board, right? They're hesitant because of the client's age. Lacey said, this plan is going to improve your family's morning. What is she basing her recommendation on? A, client preference. Do they talk at all about client preference here? They don't, which is why it's so important that you understand the entire question. If you jump to the answer choices, you would have read client preference and then you would have gone back to the question and reread it. This way, we already understand, because we know the question, they don't have client preference in there. We can skip that. What about supporting environment? Well, the family's not really on board, so she's not really basing it on supporting environment. She's got to convince them that this is a good idea. What about risk constraints? We're not really talking about risk here. We're talking more about improving their routine. It doesn't seem to be a risk, right? Stakeholders have hesitancy due to the client's age, but it says nothing about risk. What Lacey is saying is this is very socially valid. It's meaningful. If we do this, your family's morning routine will improve. We're going to improve the kid's life and your life. It's very socially valid. So Lacey's recommending the intervention based on social validity. This shows the importance of understanding the question first. Said nothing about client preference. That's out. Supporting environment, stakeholders are hesitant. That's out. Says nothing about risk. That's out. Improve the family's morning, social validity. That's how easy it can be if you do it the right way. Put in the time while you're practicing and you can get that good and that fast. And then 85, a task list requires behavior analysts to make decisions that are often difficult about continuing services or the need for ongoing services. Which of the following considerations should be taken when evaluating the need for ongoing services? This is an important part of our job, and this question is a little tricky, so let's take our time. What are we considering when evaluating ongoing services. So the need to continue giving services, right? What are we evaluating? A, what the data indicates. Absolutely. The need. Absolutely. And the need to fulfill company billable requirements. No. Billable reasons are not a good reason to continue services. Just because you have to hit your hours doesn't mean you should be giving services to someone who doesn't need the services. A is out. B, the need for services. Yes. The relationship with the family. Just because you like the family or just because you dislike the family, not a reason to continue or discontinue services. Your relationship should be professional. That's all that matters. Do you have a professional relationship with the family? That's the only thing that matters. So your relationship should not come into play when considering ongoing services. Just because you like them or dislike them doesn't change anything about continuing services. B's out. C, what the data indicates. Yes. The need for services. Yes. What goals remain? Yes. What goals remains a big one because we don't just keep creating goals so we can keep offering services. Those goals must be relevant and they must be socially valid. We don't just pick them out of thin air. They have to have a purpose. So of these, the best answer is C. What the data indicates, the need for services, what goals remain. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already so you get all of our updates. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Thanks for checking out ABA Exam Review. Let us know when you pass so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.